Good morning. It's such a great day to have synchronicity. I am so excited with the next person who is sitting down with us for tips and tea. We have Jackie, and Jackie is coming to us from JM Nutritional Counseling. Good morning, Jackie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Good. So excited that you're able to sit down with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, definitely. So let's dive right in.
All right.
Um, Tell us first, Jackie, tell us about you.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to appreciate that. I just, talking about yourself can be a little hard, so bear with me.
Definitely. Take
um,
your time.
I went to Westchester University for my undergrad and my master's. I
Mm,
started my business in 2020 during the pandemic with all that craziness.
yeah.
And I just kind of created a goal of wanting to help people and teach them about their nutrition.
Mhm,
On a personal note, I'm really big into cooking. I'm
mhm.
big into gardening, and kind of a fun fact, I own chickens and goats. So I'm an accidental farm girl.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Are you in Philadelphia with chickens and
I'm
goats?
like in the suburb area. It's a more like rural kind of area. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's amazing. So, what made you interested in nutrition?
Absolutely. So I've always loved cooking. I was super blessed from a young age. I have Italian and Polish grandparents that I was always
Mm,
in the kitchen with. I learned a lot from them as well as my parents. And to be honest with you, I learned a lot from Food Network. And there were many times where I made absolutely awful dishes. I've burnt things, caught things on fire. It's been real. Uh, but that always kind of piqued my interest for food. And then from a very young age, I've always taken a liking to science. So for me, as I got older, I knew I wanted a career where I was going to help people. And it kind of married nutrition as well as science and everything all together.
how exciting is that? How would you say, Jackie, what would you say about how nutrition impacts mental health and wellness? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I really think it impacts our health and wellness more than people would actually think. So, believe it or not, 90% of our serotonin is actually created in our intestines. So, if we have a diet that, is causing a lot of inflammation, it's kind of hindering our ability to produce that serotonin and can actually lead to things like increased depression. Kind of on the same note, things like, if we were to have a inflammatory diet, or not get a lot of vitamins and minerals, or dehydration because we're not really great with water, that can actually add to things like anxiety. So believe it or not, as simple as drinking water can help with your anxiety.
Wow, look at that. And it's so funny. See, clients, I don't be making things up. I tell my clients all the time, I say, we have serotonin and we have insula in our gut. And so, if we want to get that up to our brain, we have to do some deep breathing, right?
Yeah.
And everyone looks at me like, what are you talking about? What did you just say was in my gut? So, you heard it from a nutritionist that we do have them feel good hormones located right in our belly. So, thank you for that.
Mhm.
So, Jackie, let me ask you, what disparities, if any, have you seen with people of color and
Yeah.
diseases such as like high blood pressure and diabetes?
Absolutely. So definitely the high blood pressure, the diabetes, you hit the nail on the head with that. Also things like food insecurity. So
Mm,
that's huge in any population, but specifically individuals of color due to like geographic location and things like that. And believe it or not, lactose intolerance. So that's
really?
yeah, yeah.
Could you
So
speak?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Could you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always think of a personal story in my life. My husband was in a military family, and they actually lived in Okinawa, Japan for a long time. And in particular, I'm thinking of Japanese or Asian Americans. And, when they were living there, they actually did not have cow's milk on the island. So they would have to actually import it, and it was very expensive at the time. So most of their dairy products were soy based. So in a lot of tofu, things like that. So Asian Americans, just like African Americans and so on and so forth, it's more of an availability of cow's milk or what's culturally more normal or accepted. And that's kind of where that has actually stemmed from over time.
Wow, that is something, right? What would be your advice to address some of these health concerns?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I would say if you are suffering from things like, diabetes, high blood pressure, as well as the lactose intolerance, of course, if you could see a nutritionist, we'll be able to help you out with that. Some very simple things. Work on exercise, getting in your fruits and vegetables, as well as, if lactose intolerance is something that's kind of present in your world, you could avoid some of those dairy products, or they actually do make something called lactate pills. I recommend the chewable ones. They're good for kids as well as adults. You can get them over the counter and you can enjoy that bowl of ice cream and not be in the bathroom forever.
Wow, great advice. Definitely good advice. Thank you for that. So, Jackie, a lot of my clients they inquire about things such as like leaky guts, especially in children, right? What could you share about this?
Yeah, definitely. GI stuff or like gastrointestinal stuff is a hard one. And I feel that way because it's super personalized. So it all depends on what your diet is, how your nutrition is, what your genetics are, even what your stress is like in your life. So depending on the person, it's very personalized. But if I had to kind of make a generalized statement, I would say it would have to do with the amount of fiber that people are getting. So there's two different types of fiber. There's soluble and insoluble. Soluble is the one that kind of dissolves, and that could be something like simple like beans. And insoluble is the type of fiber that's more that bulk. I like to think of like broccoli or all bran cereal. And depending on what type of fiber that you eat, that will help kind of form your stool. And by forming the stool properly, it prevents the intestinal walls from either weakening, where they kind of let out more than they're supposed to, or just kind of having some issues in the bathroom in general.
Good
Fun
stuff.
things.
Yeah, good stuff. Bad stuff, but good information. Thank you. So in your opinion, and based off of what you've seen, would you say that there is a connection between diet and things like hyperactivity in children?
So that's a tough one too. I feel like there's a ton of gray area in nutrition, and this is definitely one of those gray areas. So if you look up clinically, some of the information will say there's no correlation whatsoever. Some of it will say there is a correlation. And, if it's my own personal opinion, kind of like we were just talking about with our gut health, whatever you're putting into your body. So say it's a kid who's eating a lot of Cheetos and juice and cookies and all those delicious things.
Mhm.
It's definitely going to have an impact on our physical well-being, which affects our mental well-being and our cognitive function. Not to mention too, if a child's eating a lot of things like a lot of processed foods with high fructose corn syrup, that can cause what's called osmotic pressure or osmotic diarrhea. Yeah, fancy terms. And they can actually pull in a lot more water and then cause, a whole lot of diarrhea. And I'm not a mom, but I have a nephew. And in my personal opinion, if he has a lot of sugar, he's like bonkers. So,
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I am a mom, and
okay, so you get it.
in those days where they would consume a lot of candy, Halloween, something like that, they would be off the hook. So definitely think that there could be some type of correlation there. So thank you.
Sure.
So if we were to look at the food pyramid today, excuse me, how accurate would you say that is?
That's a good question too. So I grew up with the food pyramid. I think it definitely offers some beneficial things still. I do like how, it kind of emphasizes more of the foods we should eat at the bottom. And then as you go up, less of those foods we should be eating. I will say I do like the USDA My Plate version
Mhm.
because it shows a realistic place setting. They're also more specific about balance, the types of foods we should be eating, ensuring that, we have moderation. But I think, both of them offer something. So I think regardless, whatever works for you, it's just nutrition can get very nitty gritty very quickly. So it can become confusing for anybody, including myself.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so if a client was to come in and meet with you, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm ready to get this nutrition thing under control. It is 2023. I want to start my year off right. What could they expect? What should they expect?
Yeah, for sure. So the very first thing I say to everybody, I go, expect a whole lot of boring questions. Uh, Once we can kind of get through those, it will allow us to, make a more fun connection, set some goals, and deal with whatever they're struggling with in terms of nutrition. And, I can do anything from meal plans, how to cook something. I've even done like cooking live with people. So if you're really intimidated in the kitchen, we can get in there together. And I usually end up spilling something. So you can laugh at me. As well as, meal plans, recipes, like whatever it may be, even if it's just a laundry list of questions. So
yeah, good. That sounds amazing, especially the live cooking, right? I think I want to do it. That sounds really, really good. So talk to me a little bit, Jackie. So working in this field and trying to get the population on board with nutrition and correlating how certain diseases can go along with what you are putting in your mouth and what you're digesting. What stress reduction techniques do you currently utilize to keep you grounded when doing this important work?
For sure. Awesome question. I think it's super important. As you can see, I was a little bit nervous earlier. I'm definitely somebody who has anxiety, so I get it. In terms of what I like to do, so anything from breathing techniques, eating right, of course, limiting my alcohol and my caffeine intake, that I find that definitely affects myself. Meditation and exercise is a very big one for me. Even if it's like, I'm going out for a 15-minute walk, and I have a lot of clients that are in the Northeast and they're like, listen, it's cold. I don't want to do it. And I go, you got to bundle up and get your butt out there.
That is me every day. It's so,
I totally get it. I hate the cold, but I still do it.
I'm like, it's cold, it's dark. I just don't want to. Why?
For sure.
I think that boost of energy, once it's over for the day. So what else? What else would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I think like just my last point would be, I know the science behind this stuff. I have the education. I'm definitely a foodie, but I really think food should be enjoyable. It's something that connects all of us. I am a big advocate for this. I'm not your stereotypical nutritionist. I know the information, I know what to do. And I give the example, I say, I love kale. I really do. I know a lot of people like turn their nose up at it, but I know why it's good for you, good ways to cook it. But I also really like chocolate cake, and I'm human. And I really like to emphasize balance and moderation, of course, depending on medical conditions and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm just a real person. So
yeah, definitely. And I think that is a really good added note. A lot of individuals seem to fall off when they try to put themselves on like this strict diet.
Yeah.
Especially ones that is just where they take everything that they love away. And then they kind of fall off the wagon. So now that we're in a new year, we have your words to kind of get us through everything in moderation. So definitely that was a good tip. Thanks for coming and sitting down with us today and sharing your tips and tea with Synchronicity. I'm going to have all your information pinned at the top of your video. So if anyone is interested in working with you, they'll be able to connect with you. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming out. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.